And today, eThekwini, of course, with good leadership, is beginning to turn around, and we're already beginning to see great dividends. For me, it was a joy to have a meeting with all stakeholders last year and saw how the business community, the unions, and civil society were all clamoring to get on the podium to outline their plans of recovery for eThekwini. I expect the same to obtain in Johannesburg. Already a meeting with the banks, because Johannesburg is still the capital city of money. The banks themselves are very keen to work with our metro government there to revamp and to revive the city, but more importantly, to make sure that service delivery is delivered in the way that our citizens or our residents in Johannesburg expect. So short of calling for administration, which can also be a very long legislative process, there is now a new energy that has been injected to all stakeholders, be it academics, be it young people. They all came together when I was there, and they committed themselves to working to turn Johannesburg around. And I do believe that Johannesburg will be turned around as all key stakeholders get together and work on specific areas of turnaround, and Johannesburg should be able to return to its former glory. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, President. We now move to question number 2. Question number 2 has been asked by Honorable G. Michalakis. The question is about the measures the government has put in place to maintain a positive relationship with the United States of America towards growing the economy and creating jobs. Honorable President.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, honorable members. The United States of America remains a strategic as well as a historic partner to our country. South Africa maintains its active engagement with the United States through political, diplomatic, and economic channels. Soon after the establishment of the Government of National Unity last year, the Minister of International Relations and Cooperation, as well as the Minister and Deputy Minister of Trade, Industry and Competition, they all undertook official visits to Washington, D.C. for engagement with the administration. They also engaged with members of Congress, business people, as well as academia and think tanks in the United States. Now, following the election of President Trump in November last year, I had a telephone call with him as president-elect to congratulate him on his election and to reaffirm our own commitment as South Africa to strengthening relations between our two countries. Ambassador Ibrahim Rasool has recently been posted to Washington, D.C. for his second stint as our country's envoy to the United States. Ambassador Rasool is on the ground and briefs me almost every other day. He's on the ground with his team, engaging various stakeholders to underscore the importance of deepening economic, political, and cultural relations between these two historic partners, the United States and South Africa. We have taken note of an executive order on recent statements by the current United States administration about South Africa and aspects of our domestic and foreign policy. We have expressed concern about the mischaracterization of the situation in our country and certain of our laws and our foreign policy positions. We will continue to engage the United States of America and other stakeholders to correct this mischaracterization and to ensure that we restore ties between our two countries. A lot of work is underway through various channels to ensure that the relationship is restored. And I'm confident that all the efforts that we're putting in place, both diplomatic, political, and otherwise, will bear fruit. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. President. Honorable Michalakis.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Mr. President, when AGOA goes, what will you say to the tens of thousands of workers, many of them members of your own political ally, COSATU, who work in the motor industry and who will lose their jobs as a direct consequence of previous ANC foreign and domestic policy? Thank you.
Mr. President.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. The AGOA free trade opportunity that was inaugurated under President Bush has been going on for a number of years. A number of countries on our continent have been given opportunities to participate, and some have had their participation withdrawn. And as they've had their participation withdrawn, they have had to find ways in which they can enhance their exports. Participation in AGOA is not at our behest. It is at the behest of the United States. And what we seek to do, and have done so for many years, is to demonstrate that we are a good trading partner to the United States and indeed to many other countries around the world, and that we do adhere to rules and regulations that are put in place to enable our participation in trade agreements, whether they are bilateral or multilateral. There is going to be a review of the AGOA process, and last year, you might recall, we held the African and US AGOA forum here in our own country, and we were able, together with many other African countries, to demonstrate that we do derive value from AGOA, but we also give value. We export, but we also import from the United States. So it is a two-way process, as it is with many other countries around the world. As it is now, we continue not only in anticipation of an AGOA initiative, but we continue to expand our export market for a variety of goods around the world. And as we visit various countries, we do actively promote our own country so as to ensure that our reliance on various markets becomes a multiplicity of engagements. In a few days, the Deputy President will be going to Japan, and he will take with him a number of deputy ministers and ministers, and what they will be seeking to do is to open up more market space for South African goods in the East. And we will be doing so as well in a number of other visits in the Middle East, in the East. And as you know, China has become our biggest trading partner, and we want to sell more. And President Xi Jinping has been saying to us, we want to buy more goods from South Africa. And indeed, various other leaders in the Middle East have been saying precisely that. But we want to continue trading with the United States because we sell minerals, we sell vehicles, we sell agricultural products to them, So we do not take the opportunity that we have, as it is called, Africa Growth Opportunity Initiative. We don't take that opportunity lightly. But at the same time, we want to also demonstrate that, yes, we have value to add. As you may want to know, when I spoke to President Trump, when he was president-elect, congratulating him, I informed him that we value participating in AGOA, but I also informed him that we also sell critical minerals to the United States, and the relationship is fairly balanced. So many workers benefit from our AGOA participation, but at the same time, many other American workers also benefit from what we sell to AGOA. So it is balanced, and we want to see that balance and the mutual benefit carrying on into the future. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, President. Honorable Mukutu.
Thank you very much, Speaker. Mr. President, there are fly-by-nights such as AfriForum and Solidarity, who without any political mandate, but they are narrow interest groups who want to hijack our foreign policy by propagating misinformation to hamstring South Africa from advancing transformation policies. Mr. President, what is your view on AfriForum's and Solidarity misinformation crusade in the USA? And do you think their actions are treasonous? Thank you.
Honorable President.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I have expressed my concern and my disappointment at what AfriForum and Solidarity have been doing in spreading misinformation about their own country in the United States. And I regard that as being non-patriotic, because when you are a patriot of a country, the best you do is to resolve the problems or issues you have in country rather than begin to damage the sovereignty of your country by running off to other countries and expecting them to take action against your own country. Because in part, through what they have done, they have instigated the action that is now being taken against the people of South Africa. And the fact whether that is treasonous or not is a matter that obviously our law enforcement agencies need to look at. The National Prosecuting Agency needs to look at that. But I take a dim view, in fact, a very negative view of what has ensued as they run around the world, bad-mouthing their own country and putting their country into disrepute, not by things that are happening, but by misinformation. And that also leads to dividing our own nation, because what they are seeking to do is to spread racist statements about their own country, when we are involved in building a nation out of the throes of a very divided situation that we suffered under. So I am hugely disappointed and take a dim view of what AfriForum and Solidarity have done.
Thank you, President. The next question will be asked by Honorable Douglas.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Many American corporations operating in South Africa dominate key economic sectors such as mining, finance, and technology, often benefiting foreign shareholders more than local workers. Furthermore, South Africa is vulnerable to US dollar fluctuations, with over 70% of our trade conducted in US dollars. Rising US interest rates have worsened our debt burden and trade deficit, while South African businesses remain exposed to currency and political volatility. What has your government done to commit to expanding local currency trade with BRICS and African partners to reduce our dependency on the United States of America and strengthen our economic resilience and the rand?
Thank you, Honorable President.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. We continue to strengthen our own economic resilience, and we do so in a variety of ways by spreading our involvement with many other countries, our membership of BRICS, and indeed our participation in the G20, and also when we keep being invited to the G7, and our membership of the G77 and the non-aligned movement means that as a country we seek to participate in various forums to advance the interests of South Africa and to make our own economy resilient. And that is why our foreign policy is about advancing our own national interests, first and foremost, and also ensuring that South Africa becomes more and more of a resilient country. The issue of currency has been flighted in the BRICS discussions. That is underway, and of course, the US dollar and other European currencies continue to be currencies that are utilized in trade and what have you. And in the end, our own economy has to be strengthened so that even as we trade with various other countries, we trade as a strong economy, an economy that we are strengthening. In a few days, or a day or so, 2 days, we're going to be having a summit with the European Union. The European Union and South Africa regularly have their own summits. This is now our turn to host them here in South Africa. And in that summit, we are also going to discuss issues of economic growth and trade and how we continue relating to each other at a political level. And through those engagements, what we seek to do is to advance our own country's interests. And what we also seek to do is to be seen as a partner of equal value, a sovereign country, a country that is proud of what it stands for in the world. And for us to have the whole of Europe coming to South Africa to engage with us is something that we need to recognize and to value. And this will be a forerunner to us hosting the G20 in November this year, where we will be bringing more countries to South Africa to interface with us and the rest of our continent on the interests that we seek to promote. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable President. Honorable Throlip.
Honourable Speaker, some members in this Parliament, including ANC ministers, believe that we can exist in splendid isolation from the United States. The fact that our country cannot break through the 1% economic growth rate, whereas sub-Saharan countries are growing at 4.2% and other developing countries are growing at 3.6%, I assume that you recognized this when you said at your SONA that you'd be dispatching forthwith envoy delegations to the USA and the rest of the world. Not only have you been beaten to this by self-appointed envoys, and your Deputy Secretary General this weekend said that there's no need yet to send envoys to the USA. Mongameli, uthepa uzimisele ukuba singohlukana neAmelika singazamanga ukuxoxa nabo malunga isikhohlakalo sabo malunga ilizwe lethu.
Thank you, Honorable President.
Honorable Speaker, yes, indeed. I did say that we will be sending envoys and delegations not only to the United States, but to various parts of our continent as well as the world. That is still our intention. And when it comes, for instance, to Europe, we will be having Europe coming here. So right now, there's no need for us to send envoys to Europe. They will be here, the President of the European Union and the President of the European Commission and others of their leaders will be here, and we are going to have good exchanges on a variety of issues that we would have wanted to exchange with them. When it comes to our continent, we continue to engage with our sister countries through the African Union and through the joint sessions of the economic communities on our continent, and we will continue through the various envoys that we have to engage. When it comes, for instance, to other countries like China and others, we've had the opportunity to also engage with them during the G20 occasions or summits that involve foreign ministers and finance ministers. So our engagements continue, and our Minister of International Relations and Cooperation continues together with his deputy ministers to travel around the world. When it comes, say, for instance, to the United States, no, we have not been beaten to it. We've been in very good preparation. And the counsel that we got, which is very useful counsel from a number of quarters, is yes, the United States is now in a milieu of being very transactional. They would like to see what transaction can be crafted with any country that they interact with. And that process is underway through our various departments, and in time, I will be able to send the envoys that should go, and they will be going under the rubric of advancing our foreign policy. Foreign policy is the preserve of the executive. Other people who keep going hither and thither, in the end, do not represent South Africa. South Africa is represented by the executive of South Africa. So be rest assured, we will be following through. The mandate we have in terms of our constitution is to ensure that what we do in relation to other countries advances the interests of South Africa. And the executive that I lead will be doing so. So be rest assured, ungothuki sizawulandela yonke into efanele ukuthi ilandelwe, Honorable Trolip. Musuhlala apho ungangcazela uthukile. Ungoyiki sizayilungisa lento. Enkosi.
Enkosi Mongameli, sizawuqhuba ngoku siye embuzweni wesithathu. Question number 3 has been asked by Honorable the Leader of Opposition. The question is about how the Government of National Unity will eradicate the glaring disparities of inequality and unequal wealth distribution, which remain in line with apartheid racial classification. Honorable President.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, honorable members. South Africa remains a highly unequal society. Despite progress that we have made in several areas, inequality continues to exist in our country. Participation in the economy and the distribution of wealth still reflects the racial and gender divides of the past, of both the colonial as well as the apartheid past. In responding to this fundamental challenge, we are guided by our Constitution, which places a responsibility on the state to take measures to redress the effects of past racial discrimination. This is specifically stated in our Constitution. Successive democratic administrations have therefore introduced various transformational measures, such as broad-based black economic empowerment, employment equity, and other transformational policies. And they have introduced a variety of legislative laws or laws that seek to address the imperative that was stated in our Constitution. To assess progress in this regard, the Broad-Based Black Economic Empowerment Commission undertakes annual assessments, and based on the assessments they make, it has established that, yes, black ownership in our economy is steadily improving. It has also established that women ownership in our economy is also improving, it's not stagnant. The Commission has found that since 2017, there has been a cumulative increase of assets acquired by black people through a variety of transactions, and they have been rising on a continuous basis. As outlined in the State of the Nation address last month, our focus is on empowering those people who were deliberately excluded by law, by convention, by practice, from playing a key role in the economy of their own country. This includes black people, in the broader definition of black. It also includes women and persons of disabilities. We are therefore also setting aside transformational instruments, such as funding, that will, over the next 5 years, be able to assist black people to get into various areas of economic activity, such as small business enterprises. We are continuing with the Black Industrialist Program, which is helping in many ways to expand the country's industrial base and develop a new generation or cohort of industrialists in our country. Having regard to the fact that many industrialists of the past were also aided and abetted by the apartheid regime, and it behoves on us as the administration under democracy to give whatever assistance that we can. We are working with industry players through various master plans that we've put together and other initiatives to increase black ownership in key sectors of the economy. But we're also creating opportunities, ensuring that black people do now have greater opportunity to play or to be active in the economy of the country, something which was previously only reserved for white South Africans. Government is also supporting the growth and development of small, medium, and micro enterprises, especially in townships and in rural areas. These businesses are vital drivers of economic growth as well as job creation and poverty reduction. The work underway to reduce inequality is not limited to these direct interventions in the economy. Around 60% of non-interest spending goes to programs that form part of the broader social wage. There aren't many countries in the world that delineate up to 60% to spending on social wage. When I last looked, I found that we were at the upper level of many other countries. Significant progress is being made in areas like education, which is one of the most critical instruments to reduce inequality and foster prosperity for all. We have significantly expanded access to education for children and young people. Today, more than 10 million learners go to public schools where they do not have to pay fees. Last year, over 900 students from poor and working class backgrounds received funding to study at universities and colleges, and I think this year it will top even 1 million. We are making grade R compulsory, that all children have a solid educational foundation that will contribute to their success later in life, because success should be engendered when children are still young. through the introduction of the National Health Insurance, we are working to reduce the huge disparities in access to health care. This will improve the quality of life of millions of poor South Africans and to reduce the cost of their health care and improve their productivity. Now, through the provision of subsidized housing, of free basic services for the indigent, as well as through land reform, we are helping to reduce inequality and better enable people to participate in the economy. And obviously, the task is huge. It is huge, and we are doing everything to ensure that many people are not left behind. All these interventions taken together contribute to reducing inequality and to improve the level of participation by Black people in the economy. Now, to achieve greater and more meaningful economic empowerment, we need to grow the economy at a much faster rate and create jobs that are needed by the people of our country. That is the central focus of this administration. That is why even in the statement of intent signed by the 10 political parties that participate in the government of national unity, the very first priority is about growing our economy and creating jobs. This we do to foster the transformation that is needed in our country. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. President. Honorable Leader of the Opposition.
Ngiyabonga kakhulu somlomo ohloniphekileyo. Umbuzo olandelayo ngizocela ukubuza ngesiZulu. Uyavuma yini na Mnumzane Ramaphosa ukuthi yinye nje kuphela into eyoqeda usizi kanye nenhlupheko ebantwini abampisholo futhi kuphele nendlala kanye nesikhala esikhulu kwezomnotho phakathi kwabantu abadla imbuya ngothi kanye nalabo abadla idombolo likapondo iningi labo abandlebe zikhanya ilanga. Leyo nto ke ukushintsha usection 25 we-constitution so that wonke umuntu abe ne-access emhlabeni, strain abantu bethu sikwazi ukulima sonke. Mangabe umbono wakho ungahambisani nombono we-MK party, kungani na, Mongameli?
Thank you, Honorable President.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. The issue of land reform is a matter that is top of mind for this administration. And through a variety of programs, through a variety of initiatives, we are fostering this objective. We agree that indeed access to land, we agree that our people working the land is a historic objective that needs to be attained. We are in the process of ensuring that we do give our land or the land to our people. I will admit that we've been slow. We have not been as fast as we ought to have been, but at the same time, a number of agricultural economists do testify to the fact that progress is being made, and it is being made in a determined manner. And when we look at the agricultural sector itself, where land is a very important ingredient, we do find that, yes, the participation of Black people is still at the lower level, but it is said that it is increasing. What we need to do is to hasten that process, and we hasten it through the various initiatives and progress that we have. And as we do so, we seek to equip our people to work the land more effectively, to ensure that there is productivity on their land. And those who are already participating, we find that they are already getting involved in our various value chains, agro-processing, and a number of them are already participating in the export opportunity. And it's been a joy for me to find that some of them are in citrus exports, they are in various parts of agricultural products exports. And when we look at categories of, say, agricultural products, we do find that black people are acceding to appreciable levels, but we still need to increase that exponentially. Section 25 of the Constitution does give us opportunities. We have now enacted a piece of legislation, Expropriation Act, that is also going to give greater muscle, greater ability for us to address the land question in South Africa. So a multiplicity of initiatives are underway, and I am confident that, yes, we will finally be able to achieve the objective that our people have struggled for over the years. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Siyabonga Mongameli. Isichibiyelo sombuzo wesibili sizothathwa ilunga elihloniphekile uKJ Maimel.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable President, acknowledging the continued government commitment to economic transformation, particularly through the introduction of the Transformation Fund, what measures will this administration consider to ensure that the financial sector implements fair and transparent capital financing practices to support small and medium enterprises, black-owned businesses, and historically disadvantaged individuals, and to foster economic inclusion, especially given that research has indicated that the private sector, particularly financial institutions such as banks, may be engaging in preferential treatment in funding applications, disproportionately benefiting certain groups while disadvantaging others. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
The Honorable President.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. As one talks to a number of black business people, one continues to hear the recurrent challenge that they face, access to finance. And they always say that they find it very difficult with our financial institutions to get access to finance on favorable terms. And they often go to state financial institutions like the IDC, like a number of other institutions that we have set up and are able to get finance. One of the reasons why we decided that we will come with a transformation fund is precisely to address the challenge that a number of small medium enterprises face. And through the Department of Small Business, we are fostering the access to finance, but also other measures to assist small and medium enterprises. So through this fund, we hope and intend to make finance accessible, but other assistant measures as well, so that we can enable black people, particularly women, to be active participants in the economy. And this is what this fund, working together with other financial institutions, aims to do. And through this, we will hope to attract more funding also from the private sector to see the value of supporting small and medium enterprises, as they should be playing a key role in the growth of our economy, and they should be creating up to 60% of the jobs that we have in our economy, as they often do in many other countries. So there is a clear intention to utilize such a fund effectively to support small and medium enterprises, and particularly women-owned and led businesses. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. President. The third supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Boshoff.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker and Honourable President. With the transfer of power in 1994, there was pressure for creating a political equality through a federal dispensation which could facilitate the creation of economic equality. However, the actual settlement was for a unitary state where overwhelmingly political power was vested in one segment of the population and the overwhelming economic power remained in another segment. Affirmative and empowerment policies should have created economic balance. To date, it has not. While some were empowered repeatedly, should we not revisit a federal solution in which some economic power might be traded for some political power?
The Honourable President.
The issue of a federal political dispensation was addressed extensively ahead of the dawn of democracy in our country. And in the end, it was found that a unitary state would be more of the best way to move forward. South Africa, having emerged from a very terrible balkanization that had been created by the apartheid regime, where they sought to divide our people, to divide the country into small little states that had no chance of future to succeed. The unitary state idea or notion was found to be the best, where we would be able to create a nation that is united, that we would be able to create a country that would work together to advance the interests of all. And it's interesting that you should talk about the divide that still exists between those who have economic power and those who don't. Political power is spread. We are one of the most admired nations when it comes to the spread of political power, because we are a democracy in which various political parties participate, both at national, provincial, and at local level. So political power is diffused, and it is the political system that was found to be the best for our country, particularly through proportional representation. The economic power is still the major challenge that we face, because those who have always held on to economic assets and economic power resist to embrace the transformational agenda that our country seeks to achieve. This is where real work still needs to be done by all of us as South Africans to diffuse economic power so that all South Africans can benefit from the economy of their own country, as set out in the Freedom Charter, which said, and written by our forebears, the economic wealth of the country should be shared by all. As it is now, it is shared, by your own admission, by just a few people. We want economic power to be shared by all South Africans without exception. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
The last supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Mashlatsi. The Honourable Mashlatsi. It does seem that the Honourable Member is not in the chamber, and we will therefore proceed, Mr. President. Question number 4 has been asked by the Honourable Chabane. The question is about the current status of the process of the unconditional ceasefire and cessation of hostilities in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. The Honourable President.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker. On the 8th of February this year, there was a joint summit between the heads of state of SADC and the East African Community in Dar es Salaam in Tanzania to deliberate on the security situation in the DRC. In that meeting, the joint summit directed the EAC and SADC Chiefs of Defense Force to meet and provide technical direction on, amongst other things, the immediate and unconditional ceasefire, as well as the cessation of hostilities, as well as the reopening of the Goma airport. An extraordinary summit of SADC heads of state and government of the Organ Troika met on the 6th of March to receive updates on the security situation in the East DRC. The SADC organ, as well as the defense chiefs responsible for promoting security in SADC, decided that we should continue with the process of ensuring that there is a ceasefire. Now, South Africa attended the summit as one of the troop contributing countries. Now, this Troika, having deliberated on the report of the Defense Subcommittee, felt that we should make recommendations that will be put forward to the summit of the SADC heads of states to be convened soon this week. South Africa remains committed to working with fellow SADC countries to contribute to an inclusive as well as a negotiated settlement on the conflict in the DRC. In working together with the other countries, particularly through SADC, we are assured that the decisions that are taken and the initiatives that are taken to ensure that there is peace and there is a durable ceasefire in the DRC will enhance the proper cessation of hostilities. That will lead in the end, yes, to the withdrawal of the various troops that are from troop contributing countries as peace will be installed in that part of the DRC. So at the next heads of state meeting, we will be deliberating on the next steps that need to be taken in this regard. Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable President. I have been informed that the Honourable Mashlaule will take charge of the first question on behalf of Chabane in accordance with Rule 137, sub 10A. I now recognise the Honourable Mashlaule.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. Honourable President, on the 28th of February 2025, the UN Relief Coordinator's Office reported that the humanitarian situation continues to deteriorate as M23 rebels push deeper into the region, capturing key towns and displacing thousands of people. What is the impact of this advancement of the rebels into the region on the initiative of ceasefire and cessation of hostilities as decided by the SADC EAC summit?
The Honourable President.
The situation in the Eastern DRC, particularly in Sake and Goma, continues to be precarious. And that is where our troops are located. And the situation is quite tenuous, but at the same time, the cessation of hostilities is holding. Now, through the various summits and meetings and discussions that we are holding, from the Chiefs of Defense Force to ministers to the heads of states. We are hoping to consolidate that and to halt any further movement by any of the armies that are surging forward. So right now, when there will be a meeting of SADC and thereafter followed up by a joint meeting of EAC and SADC, we are hoping that we will be able to have a more durable ceasefire that will lead to a permanent cessation of hostilities. The good thing is that meetings are now underway and further meetings are being planned that will also involve the heads of states through the facilitation of those either former heads of states that have been identified or current heads of states. Those meetings are now going on and they will go on, and they will have a positive bearing on what now needs to happen in the DRC going forward. We are bent on ensuring that peace is installed in the eastern DRC so that the displacement of people should also cease and the deaths of people should cease, and in the end our troops should come back home. Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker.
The second supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Hutton.
Honourable Deputy Speaker, the President ordered our troops to deploy as the major component of the SAMI DRC mission in the DRC to support the armed forces of the DRC, the FADRC, to neutralize M23 and other negative groups. However, from the January the 23rd to the 25th, a major incident happened. Our troops, after fierce fighting, were neutralized by M23 and are encircled by M23 and without any logistical support whatsoever. They are at the mercy of M23. The FADRC abandoned us. The Malawian forces are withdrawing, and the Tanzanian forces, the other component of the SAMI DRC mission, is nowhere to be found. So, and may I add that any escalation in this stage in North Kivu...
Honourable Hutton, your time is running out.
Let me then put the question, Honourable President. When and how will our soldiers and secondly our main battle equipment be withdrawn from the DRC?
Thank you,
and is it not
Hutton,
time that the President, as the Commander-in-Chief, inform the nation about the truth about the situation of our troops in the DRC?
Hutton, your time has expired. The Honourable President.
From what I think I heard, as Honourable Hatting had run out of his time, yes, information has been presented by our Minister of Defence on the situation of our troops. They are located in Sake and in Goma, and as I said, they are in quite a precarious situation right now. But as it is, the peace is holding. The troops, much as they are just located at the airport, they are not being fired on, and in Goma, there is a sense of peace, and we want to consolidate that. And the discussions that are ongoing now are aimed at ensuring that we have a durable, as I said, a cessation of hostilities. Yes, facing all these challenges has meant that we have to be in discussion with the various other armies in the area, including the M23, about a variety of issues, including logistics, the movement, so for instance, of food stuff or food supplies, and indeed the provision of water and electricity. So all that has been happening on an interactive basis. And a piece that should now be fully consolidated is in the offing. And we are hopeful that once that has ensued, we will be able to indeed get our troops back home, as the other nations also yearn for the end of hostilities, so that their own troops should go home. Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker.
The third supplementary, Honourable Manyi. Honourable President, you may take your seat, please. There is a point of order. Honourable Manyi.
Yeah, thank you, Deputy Speaker. Deputy Speaker, the point of order, or rather clarification, is on you. Whether will you give the other members the same dispensation of speaking past their time? Because the questioner had gone past his time and you were graceful to him. Will you be graceful to everyone? Thank you.
Yes, Honourable Manyi, I will try to be graceful when it is necessary and required. Honourable President, we will proceed. The third supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Matiase.
Thank you so much, Deputy Speaker. Mr. President, the tragic resolution which gives chiefs and generals of the defense the authority to provide direction in the conflict in the Eastern DRC is an abdication of responsibility and surrendering political and diplomatic responsibilities of SADC heads of states to an unelected military officials. How is this resolution advancing the AU Agenda 2063, which commits to the silencing of guns and ending all wars, conflict, and prevent genocide by 2030? Mr. President, how do you intend to handle and deal with a belligerent, intransigent President Kagame, who openly challenged you to go into a battlefield, and we seem not to be willing to go there, and yet you are still keeping our soldiers, sons and daughters, in the battlefield? We want answers to these questions, Mr. President.
The Honourable President.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker. The matter of silencing the guns on the African continent is a matter that is being handled by the African Union. And as it is now, the conflict in the DRC is also being handled by the African Union. And in this regard, the chairperson of the African Union, who happens to be President Lorenzo of Angola, is also one of the key facilitators in ensuring that this conflict does come to an end. He, as the leader of the facilitators to bring this conflict to an end, continues to be preoccupied with how best he can bring together the warring parties, those countries that are involved, as well as those non-state actors that are involved in this conflict together. One of the things that we were able to succeed in doing in terms of the decisions that were taken by the heads of states is to say that this conflict in the end can only be resolved through negotiations and not on the field of battle. And that in the end, we should bring state actors as well as non-state actors together in a joint process of negotiation. That in itself has been a good outcome. We now need to ensure that it is put into true effect, that state actors, as in the various countries that are affected by this conflict, as well as non-state actors, as regards the various army groups that are involved, should be brought together to find a permanent peace. We as South Africa have been saying that in the end, we want a negotiated settlement And that in itself will be a precursor to ensuring that we have a cessation of hostilities, and in the end, our troops do come back home. Thank you, Honorable Chairperson.
The last supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Adams.
Thank you, Speaker. Mr. President, I was in the Eastern Cape yesterday. I witnessed entire shopping centers. It's as concerning to me as what's happening in the East DRC. But on to the question, President. In September of 2024, was the head of the Israeli Mossad, Mr. David Barnier, in this country? Is there record of his visit? And did you meet with him? This country has taken a firm stance on Israel. Did you go against the national conscience? Thank you.
The Honourable President.
In fostering peace in all conflicts around the world, we as South Africa have said that we will be willing to engage with those who are interested in ensuring that there's peace, even at times when they may seem not to be interested. We as a peacemaking country, and we've been involved in various initiatives of peacemaking, even in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, we have said repeatedly that we are, as a country, willing and able to contribute to peacemaking, and we are also on record as having said that even to government leaders in that country, as well as to Palestinian leaders, and in fact, Palestinian leaders have even said, you as South Africa, you have a great lesson to teach the world because you have been able to find ways of resolving what the world once thought was an intractable problem. So we do meet with a variety of people, a variety of actors. Even in conflict situations, we do extend our message, and our message is very clear and simple. Peace can be fostered through negotiations. Peace can be found when people of different views get together to negotiate, to find a solution. And in this role, we've never been one-sided. We've always been on the side of our values, our principles, and we've always stuck to that. In a number of cases, there's been great success. In a number of others, there's been slowness in getting to that situation. Soon, we will be upping our own participation and involvement in helping to resolve or participate or contribute rather, best to say contribute, to the conflict that is taking place far away from our land in Ukraine and Russia. We will be continuing our engagement in that, and that engagement has continued both through our envoys and through channels that have been established and channels that continue to work more effectively when they are not in the public glare, but all the time seeking to act in accordance with our principles, with the value system that we have embraced as a country. So, as South Africa, we will always be ready to foster peace, to talk to people who may be at different ends of the pole, trying to bring them together to ensure that there's a peace process. Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. President. Question number 5 has been asked by the Honourable J.S. Malema. The question is about whether the President's call to Elon Musk, an unelected businessman, was used as a diplomatic channel, and if so, what role did the Minister of International Relations and Cooperation play in arranging the meeting and the subsequent call? The Honourable President.
A very simple and straightforward answer to that. Yes, I have spoken to Mr. Elon Musk. Yes, the Minister of International Relations has either been in occasions when I have met with Mr. Elon Musk, if you want to know, we together with Minister of Trade and Industry and Minister of International Relations and Cooperation met with Mr. Elon Musk when I went to the United Nations General Assembly last year. He came to my hotel room and we had a discussion, and the discussion revolved around his would-be investments. So did I speak to him? Yes, recently the answer is yes. And this we do because we continue to engage with a variety of people through diplomatic channels, as well as we engage with them through various constituencies in countries that we have relations with. And as I've indicated through this conversation that I had, we were able to have a discussion on what was a mischaracterization of what was being said about our country. And he being a person who is quite, I would say, influential, whether one likes it or not, as we interact with various people, business, academic, research, or otherwise, we do interact with people who we believe are able to discuss issues with some people in very official categories. So we do talk to non-state actors as well as state actors. And we will continue to engage with people both inside and outside of South Africa to promote our country and to promote the interests of our country. There's just nothing sinister about the various discussions that we hold with a variety of people. Even on an ongoing basis, when people make contact with us, yes, we talk to them, but we always make sure that our foreign policy positions are advanced and they are not undermined or diluted. Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker.
The first supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Malema.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Mr. President, I don't know wittingly or unwittingly, when you were answering the question about our relationship with the USA, not once have you mentioned DERCO or Minister of International Relations. And this is as a result of you having met Elon Musk during the UN General Assembly and knowing very well the views of Elon Musk about South Africa, racist, white supremacist views about South Africa, which led to you meeting him because you thought you were going to clarify those issues. Unrepentant racist became emboldened and then made more bad remarks about South Africa even after meeting you physically. You still saw a need to go outside the diplomatic channels and made a contact with an individual not using diplomatic relations or mechanism within which we resolve diplomatic disputes as South Africa. Don't you think you individually have emboldened white people to undermine us, and you have single-handedly destroyed the diplomatic relations of South Africa with other countries, and you have destroyed and juniorized the Department of International Relations? Le re tlwaetša ka makgowa, Mr. President. And le swantse le tsebe gore nto ya go bolela le ditsotsi tša go tshwana le bo Elon Musk ko re taletša ka bana ba makgowa. And worse, Elon Musk, you organized a meeting with him or that telephone conversation through his immoral father, politically, economically, and otherwise. A man who has engaged in business in South Africa through illegal means, even when he has admitted to do so. Those are the type of characters you can't speak to. Imagine, Mr. President, had they said Donald Trump called the Guptas during that time. What were you going to say? You are going to say that Guptas are an independent state actor. You are not going to say that. You are going to feel undermined. And that's exactly what you have done. What are you saying about established practices of resolving issues in a diplomatic way and diplomatic channels in South Africa? Do you have a full confidence in the Minister of DERCO and the department itself? You speak about an ambassador in Washington or New York. That ambassador belongs to the Department of International Relations. Instead of talking about international relations, leadership, and the department, you talk about ambassador. But when you talk about DRC, you talk about Minister of Defense is doing 1, 2, 3. You don't say ambassador in DRC is doing 1, 2, 3. Thank you very much.
Honorable President. Honorable President. Please proceed. Yes, please.
I was waiting for you to give me the cue, Deputy Speaker, after that tirade. Now, Honorable Malema, ke kgopela ntho e le nngwe fela. O ska leka go lwantsha president le minister wa gagwe. Bjalo wena o nyaka go kena ka mogare. Taba ya go šoma ga le minister wa ka a e batle wena. Emela ka thoko. Emela ka thoko ka obane wa bona ha re le di meeting tsa rena tsa cabinet kapa di feng kapa au yo wena o ba o se gona le gore re shumisana bjang ka bane minister o re ha fetsa go etsa dilo tsa gagwe a bolela le batho o amputsa le nna ke fetsa go bolela le batho ke a mmotsa. So wena bjale o leka go kena hare ha rena nka se dumele ntho ewe le ganyane nka se dumele. So we work in a very interactive way, and as I said to you, there is just no way we can say we don't talk to certain people who are either non-state actors or state actors. The discipline that I have always followed, if you care to know, is to always keep my colleagues informed, and they always keep me informed. Be they ministers or deputy ministers, we always know when we do certain things that have to do with the Republic of South Africa. So ke fella gona mowe o ska re lwantsha ke a gopela.
Deputy Speaker. Deputy Speaker. Deputy Speaker.
Honourable President, it seems that there is a point of order. If you can please just take your seat. Yes, Honourable Member, Honourable
Thank you,
Matwe.
Deputy Speaker. With all due respect, the President did not answer the question.
Instead, he went on and on educating us about his relations with the Minister of South Africa. You might have appointed him, but he's serving for the people of South Africa. And when there's something wrong that you are doing, allow your members of parliament to tell you and show you that this is wrong. Because you can't have the department that has been undermined the way you are undermining it. The minister is there for a purpose. He's there to have interactions with the international community, not for you to be engaging with criminals, Mr. President. So please, Deputy Speaker, with due respect, the President did not answer the question. We ask respectfully for the President to answer the question.
Thank you, Honourable Matwe. That is up for the President to decide whether he has answered it. He is the replier to this question. Honourable President, there is another point of order before we proceed. Honourable Manye.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Mine is a different one. I'm just worried about the mics here. You know, when Honourable Malema was speaking, you put your mic on, your lips were moving, but there was no sound. Just now you will say somebody disregarded your ruling. Can we get the IT people to attend to the sound, to the mic issue? Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Manye. Yes, indeed, there is a little bit of a problem with the switch here. I'm quite aware of that, so I am concentrating that it switches on before I speak. Honourable President, please proceed.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. It's a simple answer. In whatever I do not seek to undermine any of the colleagues I work with. Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable President. The second supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Gigaba.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. There is obviously an urgent need for a new multi-pronged strategy in relation to the new geopolitical risks that we are facing, especially in light of recent US elections and the treasonous actions of AfriForum and Solidarity. Mr. President, can you provide light to the nation as to measures government is taking to ensure that we harness national consensus, patriotism, and solidarity and responsibility, including that of people of South African origin living abroad, to persuade them to contribute positively towards projecting South Africa positively globally, advance our national interests, and combat anti-South Africa and anti-transformation propaganda? Thank you.
The Honourable President.
Honourable Deputy Speaker, thank you. Yes, Honourable Kigaba, we should all, as South Africans, be projecting a very positive image about our country. And this much we have said, particularly to people who, either through the work they do, through their travels, have an opportunity to interact with people in various other countries as they travel, as they work elsewhere, and indeed in whatever they say. We often say that, be proud of your country. We are a sovereign nation, and we stand very proud amongst nations of what we are and what we've been able to achieve since the dawn of our democracy. Let us speak about all that, and whatever problems and challenges we have, we should have opportunities to discuss them here at home. We have said that insistently also to the business community who are able to travel all over the world, and that message seems to have been heeded and is being heeded as we speak now, because they are coalescing around what South Africa is and what South Africa is all about. And we have not had much of negative talk from them about their own country. And indeed, in our engagements with people, South Africans who are in the diaspora, we also seek to foster that type of message. When I've traveled to various countries, particularly in the US, we do take time to meet South Africans who are in their diaspora, who often say that we want to continue engaging with the leadership of the country so that we can hear exactly what progress is being made, so that we can beam it much louder where we are. So this is a mission that all of us should take up. Wherever we have time to interact with various people, let us be projecting that type of messaging to the world, to those that we interact with. So thank you very much, Honorable Kigaba, for putting that firmly on the agenda, and I do believe that it should be firmly put on the national agenda so that all of us as South Africans should act out our patriotism. And by doing so, we are able to demonstrate to all and sundry in various countries that we are proud of our country, and our country that is standing as a sovereign country, a country that will not allow itself to be tossed hither and thither, or even be bullied by other stronger and bigger nations, because we are a country that is proud of itself. Thank you very much.
The third supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Sali.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Chair. Mr. President, Elon Musk, the unelected businessman, as described by Honourable Malema, is funding a foreign campaign in support of genocidal attacks on Palestinians, apartheid policies, and US aid sanctions against South Africa. We are a signatory to the International Convention on the Suppression of the Crime of Apartheid. When will our law, considering the relevant convention, be ratified, amended, and domesticated and aligned to the convention, whereby prosecution of those supporting apartheid can be pursued, as well as consideration of revocation of citizenship of those supporting apartheid? I thank you.
The Honourable President.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. The domestication of various conventions and various protocols that are adopted internationally is a matter that is processed through our various departments, particularly our Department of International Relations and Cooperation. So that is a matter that they address on a programmatic basis and bring forward to Cabinet, and thereafter bring forward to Parliament. So this is one of a number that are eventually going to be brought forward to this Assembly as well. Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. President. The last supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Kwankwa.
Thank you very much, Speaker. President, as South Africa navigates the very complex and multifaceted aspects of the shifting geopolitical landscape, how do you intend to position South Africa in this shifting global political landscape? And two, whether you would consider, as a country, we would consider moving towards countries that are shouldering more global responsibilities in terms of leadership. Thank you.
The Honourable President.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker. Our foreign policy is guided by promoting our own interests as a country, also by human rights, advocacy, and by ensuring that we have good, mutually beneficial relations with other countries in the world. And to this end, we will work with those countries and those institutions that seek to assist us or help us to achieve our objectives. And our objectives are just clearly stated. They are underpinned by the precepts of our Constitution and by the principles that we have embraced as part of our democratic outlook or architecture. And as we do this, we will seek to work with those who will advance those interests, and our approach will generally be a non-aligned approach. We are non-aligned, and that enables us to be able to interact with various countries in the world. We as a country see ourselves as a friend to all other countries in the world on a non-aligned basis, and that is why we belong to the non-aligned movement, and that is why we have chosen to belong to institutions or forums like BRICS. BRICS, that is a collection of countries, particularly in the global south, that seek to advance and promote each other's developmental goals or objectives. And in the United Nations, joining many, many other countries in the world, we stand proud as a nation amongst other nations, recognizing other nations and being respected by others, and we are able to advance our own national interests as we also respect other countries' national interests. So that is the trajectory that we have chosen for ourselves, and in many ways we are respected around the world, and we are always identified as a country that can contribute to the advancement of a number of priorities that face the world. When it comes to climate change, we've also been identified as a leading nation that has embraced the vagaries of climate change. When it comes to human rights, exactly the same. When it comes to the development issues, either developing infrastructure and developing the interests of vulnerable people, women and children, even on our continent, we are recognized as playing a key role. So in many ways, we are the go-to country, and we wear that badge with humility. We wear that badge with pride as well, knowing that we have a contribution to make. And the other important thing is South Africans who fly our country's flag in various institutions in the world, whether appointed or elected, do so with dignity, with humility, right from the United Nations through to our own continent, and all of them advancing the interests of South Africa and putting South Africa on the map and ensuring that the name of our country is well positioned. So we do this at the international level, acting to ensure that our foreign policy is in line with the dictates of our Constitution. And we are very proud to be where we are internationally. Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. President. The last question has been asked by the Honorable Hadebe. The question is about how the government plans to ensure its new graduate recruitment scheme is inclusive, merit-based and effective in improving the public sector's efficiency and service delivery, and what measures have been implemented to ensure that the scheme is effectively integrated into government departments and state-owned enterprises. The Honourable President.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker. The framework for graduate recruitment schemes in the public sector is essentially aimed at recruiting graduates and young people who have already obtained tertiary qualifications but require some specialized skills, especially in areas such as health, policing, infrastructure planning, engineering, finance, information technology, and other related disciplines. Recruitment into the graduate recruitment scheme program follows the principle of open competition, and in line with the public service regulations, all would-be employees, as well as employees and qualifying entrants to a department, must be given a fair and equitable participation opportunity. The scheme has a considerable potential to respond to many of our country's developmental needs. These include the reduction of unemployment, particularly amongst young people, as well as among designated groups, including women and persons with disabilities. It also has the potential to make a contribution to the eradication of poverty, reduction of inequality, and improved service delivery as well. In December 2018, the Minister of Public Service and Administration issued the framework for implementation across the public service. Currently, the implementation of this framework is ongoing. Departments are required to submit their implementation reports on this basis, and deliberate programs to recruit the best graduates into the public service are an essential part of our strategic priority to build a capable state. So as a state, we've positioned ourselves in a way where we would like young people, women and persons with disabilities to be brought into the state to participate in the various areas where our state seeks to improve services to our people. But we also want these qualified young people to come in their numbers to respond to these advertisements for these positions. This, in part, is the process of professionalizing the state. It is also, in part, to build the capacity of the state to ensure that we've got the very best of South Africans who are going to provide services to the people of South Africa. And when we do have the very best, who would have been chosen through a very fair, equitable, and open process, we will be able to increase the capability of our state. As you well know, one of our stated priorities is to build a capable and developmental state. In order for us to do so, we do need people who are well-versed in the various disciplines that can come into the state and perform the work that needs to be performed in the interests of South Africans. Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker.
The first supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Hadebe.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Mr. President, the IFP supports and appreciates the initiative of the graduate recruitment scheme, as we have always pushed for unemployed graduates to be absorbed into government employments. Considering this, Honourable President, how will the government ensure that the placement of graduates under the graduate recruitment scheme is sustained beyond initial phase, ensuring long-term career growth and contribution to the public sector? Thank you.
The Honourable President.
Clearly, having brought these young people, the graduates, into the state, we do hope that they will be able to display their own capability and knowledge and to demonstrate how well-versed they are in the disciplines that they will have been recruited into, and that they will be able to demonstrate that they can serve our people very well. I speak about this out of great encouragement and hope, particularly in relation to what we saw during COVID. During COVID, we brought some 800,000 young people into our various schools as teacher assistants. And many of them had come either out of university or colleges. And they came at a time of peril in our country. And I applaud them because they showed a great deal of bravery to go and work in our schools, which at the time many people were, petrified about, particularly as we opened schools at the height of COVID. And just that mere opening of schools has served us so well because our young people have continued to move ahead on their educational journey. But the defining thing that happened during that period is how many of these young people got into our schools and started demonstrating their capabilities as teacher assistants. Many of them were brought in just for menial jobs, such as helping with either masks distribution or either disinfectants, handlers, and ensuring that the children are safe. But in no time, they were able to perform higher level jobs of being teacher assistants, helping with the IT processes in the schools, also helping with the delivery of some aspects of the curriculum. And it showed us, much as they were just there for a year or just, for a slightly extended period, that it is a wise thing to do to bring graduates and young people into the public service. And we got a foretaste of what it can mean when you bring a new cohort, a younger cohort of younger people, or graduated people into the public service, because it rejuvenates the work that we do in government. Many of the school, either principals or teachers, were so pleased that we had initiated this teacher assistant process. And they were very sad, often very sad to see them go, because these were job opportunities as we didn't have the ongoing finance to support them. So this recruitment process can be made more sustainable as the young people themselves distinguish themselves with their own capability. And as spaces open up and as the older workers retire, we are then able to infill with the younger people who are more qualified in various disciplines. And that is why we've identified these disciplines. Some disciplines that were hitherto not even there in government service. We're now creating them, and the Public Service Department is opening all those opportunities. I see this as the most exciting type of work that we are doing in government at this point in time. Thank you, Honorable Hadeb.
The second supplementary question will be asked by the Honorable Maseko.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. Mr. President, the graduate recruitment scheme is a promising start, but reality is it needs to fit into wider strategy for transforming our education and innovation system. It means absolutely nothing for young people to graduate without ability to fairly compete for opportunities to put food on the table for themselves and their families. Now, with 80,000 plus graduate certificates that have yet to be issued, some since 2012, how will these graduates be assisted in a fair, transparent manner while promoting diversity and preventing political interference in order for them to benefit from this scheme?
The Honourable President.
Honourable Deputy Speaker, the mere fact that this program's requirements are opening it up for competition on a fair and transparent basis, in my view, begins to remove the temptation of political intervention or interference, because it needs to be done openly and transparently. Now, the 800,000 or so young people that we brought in was on the basis of precisely this. It was open, and young people presented themselves, and then the best were then selected. I have not heard of any problem about political interference in that. The issue of certificates is a matter that I know is being addressed. It's a matter that has concerned me for the longest time, that why does it take so long after young people have graduated for them to get their certificates? And I'm told that the backlog is now being addressed. It is something that should never really have happened as it is, but it was in the end meant to ensure that the qualifications that people get and the certificates have a sense of integrity as well, but that is being addressed. And of course, we want young people or graduates to be able to get jobs or positions that are sustainable, where they will be able to earn a living and, yes, be able to put food on their families' tables. So that is one of the issues that we continue to balance. And it also has to do with the financial resources that the state has. And in the end, when, for instance, the budget is presented, we should be able to hear precisely the initiatives that we are going to take to ensure that, yes, we open up more opportunities, but those opportunities have to be in accordance with the financial resources that we can muster, because the need is huge, but in the end, our own capabilities are constrained by the lack of massive financial resources. But it is a process that we are addressing and carrying on with a great effect. Thank you, Deputy Speaker.
The third supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Mkitama. Honourable Mkitama, please proceed.
Speaker, I'll be taking the question. Honourable Msezan.
Please proceed.
Thank you very much. Mr. Ramaphosa, youth unemployment, by the way, the youth, there is a majority in this country, remains a key issue currently in our country. But let me first deal with your responses or utterances that you just made in your responses. You mentioned teacher assistants. Mr. Ramaphosa, when there were these great numbers you are referring to with regards to teacher assistants, they ended up teaching in classrooms because of the workload in those very classrooms, as a result of the thousands of unemployed graduates in the teaching sector. Secondly, yesterday I was in KZN, where above 200 unemployed doctors that are graduates were marching to the legislature in KZN currently. And in your response, you also mentioned the healthcare professional. I just want to point that to your attention first before I deal with my question. Could you provide specific timelines for its implementation?
But I will allow you a few seconds more. The standard is 16 seconds. You have now 3 seconds left. Thank you.
Could you provide specific timelines for its implementation, the key milestones that the government aims to achieve? Additionally, what mechanisms are in place to ensure accountability in the recruitment, placement, and long-term development of graduates within the government and state-owned enterprises?
Honourable Member. Honourable President.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker. The time frames are in line with the program of recruitment that the Department of Public Service has set out, and the safeguards with regard to accountability and transparency are embedded in the program itself. And where there are areas of weakness, we would obviously welcome hearing what those areas are. And for instance, where there might be political interference, we would want to hear that, because that should never be allowed. Young people or those who might be recruited into this program must know and have the confidence that they will be chosen on merit, they will be able to be competitively selected so that they can get into these types of programs. Yes, we know that there's a problem throughout the country of doctors who are qualified, who continue to raise their own plight and their own situation. This is a matter that we are addressing, and it is based also on the resources that government has. And as our resources improve, it is our clear intention that those young people that we have been able to educate as a nation should be able to get jobs, should be able to get an opportunity to serve the nation. That is something that we are working on. Thank you, Deputy Speaker.
The last supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Ghana.
Mr. President, we have two connected problems. On one hand, government is not able to attract the brightest young minds from our tertiary institutions. And on another, we have government that's arbitrarily closing opportunities for those over the age of 35. Since your election, what have you done to make government an employer of choice for the brightest young graduates and opening opportunities for South Africans over the age of 35 to work in the public service?
The Honourable President.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker. There are a number of initiatives that we have embarked upon to ensure that as many South Africans who are able to contribute to the work of government do come in. And in this regard, we do lay emphasis on, yes, bringing in young people to various key positions where they can make meaningful contributions in relation to the education or the skills that they have acquired. And that is why I said we are concerned about those who have become qualified in various disciplines and cannot find work. Wherever one goes, be it either in the streets of our country, in door-to-door processes, parents always say, this country has been good in educating our young people, but they do not have jobs. And that is a reality that we are having to deal with. And we therefore are creating a number of opportunities. And this one is one of those. And we will be able to point to many more young people coming into government service as we ensure that this program does spread. And Honourable Speaker is one of those who to me looks very young and has been given this opportunity to be here as well. So we want more of his ilk to come also to Parliament. But at the same time, we cannot forego or neglect the unemployment status of those who are above 35. So therefore, all efforts are being made by government to also open opportunities for those who are above 35. Because there can be a tendency to focus on the young, 18 to 34, and ignore those who are 35 and above. And so we also say that we're opening up as many opportunities as possible, even for those who are above 35. So our approach is comprehensive processes of recruitment, and we, through the recruitment of graduates, are not just limiting to the much younger ones, we're also broadening it. And we have found that in the applications that come through, we do have a number of people who are above 35. So it is all encompassing, and we want it to be all beneficial to everyone who seeks to be employed. And also to bring the brightest, the most able to come and serve the people of South Africa. That is our focus, and it is something that we seek to achieve. Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Honourable members, that concludes the questions to the President. I thank the Honourable President. Honourable members, I request members to stand and wait for the presiding officer and the mace to leave the chamber. That concludes the business for the day, and the House is adjourned.